Alright, we finally moved into the last portion of this lesson, and we have one more major topic to cover: body cavities and body membranes. Like the body tissues portion of this lesson, it is really important to take time to learn about the body cavities and membranes now, because you will see this information reappear throughout the course. We'll start off by talking about body cavities, which are basically hollow spaces in the body that contain organs. The first cavity we'll talk about is the dorsal cavity, which is associated with the back part of your body. I usually remember this location by remembering that a dorsal fin on a dolphin is on its back. The dorsal cavity is depicted in yellow in this diagram. It is further subdivided into two areas: the cranial cavity, which is inside the skull and contains the brain, and the vertebral cavity, which runs down the length of an organism's back and contains the spinal cord. The next major cavity is called the ventral cavity, and it is found on the ventral or front part of an organism. It is depicted in red in the diagram. The ventral cavity is further subdivided into three areas. First, we have the thoracic cavity, which contains the heart and the lungs. The thoracic cavity is separated from the abdominal cavity below by a muscle called the diaphragm. The abdominal cavity is found in the middle portion of the ventral cavity. It contains most of the organs associated with the digestive system, so we'll be learning a lot more about the contents of this cavity during this unit. The abdominal cavity is where the stomach, liver, pancreas, small intestine, and large intestine can be found. The pelvic cavity also appears in the bottom portion of the ventral cavity. The pelvic cavity contains the rectum, bladder, and reproductive organs. Now that you know about the body cavities found in the body, it is important to understand a little about the function of body membranes. Body membranes are tissues that can be found lining the inside of body cavities and also surrounding the organs. Their job involves protecting and sometimes lubricating the organs. There are four types of body membranes: mucous membranes, serous membranes, synovial membranes, and the meninges. Of all the body membranes, you are probably most familiar with what is produced by the mucous membrane. These membranes are what overproduce mucus when you are sick with a cold, in an attempt to help your body get rid of the virus. Mucous membranes are generally found in the walls of tissue that are a part of an entrance or exit to the body. For example, you can see the blue outlining the entrance to both the respiratory system and the digestive system in this diagram. Mucous membranes are also found in the urinary and reproductive systems. The function of the mucous membrane is to secrete mucus, which protects the body from pathogens and, in the case of the digestive system, protects the tissues of the body from digestive enzymes required to break down food. The second type of body membrane is called the serous membrane. This membrane lines the thoracic and abdominal cavities and also covers individual organs. The serous membrane secretes a watery substance that lubricates the organs and creates compartments within the body cavities. There are a few serous membranes that we will be mentioning by name in the course. First, there is the pericardium, the membrane that covers the heart. There's the pleura, the membrane that covers the lungs. Finally, there's the peritoneum, which lines the abdominal cavity. The peritoneum supports the organs in the abdominal cavity and keeps them in place. This diagram shows you the heart and the surrounding pericardium. It also gives you a visual of how the pericardium can actually be thought of as a balloon. If you think of a balloon that has not been filled to capacity, you could take your hand and push it against the balloon until your hand is actually inside of the balloon. This would form a double layer of the balloon around your hand. There would be a layer of balloon immediately against your hand, then there would be a space, and then there would be an outer layer of balloon as well. The pericardium actually forms a similar structure around the heart, as does the pleura around the lungs. You can see both an inner and outer layer, as well as a space in between. We will learn more about why this is required when we look at the cardiovascular and respiratory systems in Unit 2. The third body membrane is called the synovial membrane, and it lines the cavities found around joints. They are associated with the skeletal system. These membranes also secrete fluid, called synovial fluid, which lubricates the surface of the bones and helps to facilitate movement. In the diagram, you can see the synovial membrane, and you can also see the cavity of the joint, which would be filled with fluid. When a person suffers from rheumatoid arthritis, the synovial membrane is inflamed, which impacts mobility. The fourth body membrane is called the Meninges. This membrane is made up of 3 layers called the pia mater, dura mater, and arachnoid mater. The meninges surround and protect the brain and the spinal cord, so will only be found within the nervous system. You may have heard the term meningitis before, which is a serious infection of the meninges. Lesson 4 covers a lot of material, both in the lesson and the module itself. Remember, we will take time in class to review all of this material. Please take time to focus on the portions of the lesson recommended on page 16 of the module: body tissues, body membranes, organ systems, and homeostasis. These concepts will give you an excellent foundation for the rest of the biology course. Please be sure to come to class with any questions that you have about the material covered. The PowerPoint slides for this lesson will also provide you with several videos that will help you better understand the concepts discussed in this lesson. Thank you for joining the PHS Flipped Classroom.